Welcome to the Viz Art Podcast, the business of art. And this is going to be, I hope it's not as emotional as I'm starting to get right now because I just screwed up 3 times opening this. But this is the last time we're going to be doing the podcast in my gallery. January 29th, 2020. What's crazy, I was just thinking about this earlier, is this is exactly 7 years since I've been here at the gallery.
I can't believe it's been that long already.
It's been 7 years. I have Sammy back on this podcast, so we're going to do a little bit of reflecting. Basically, this podcast, we're going to do the role reversal where Sammy's going to kind of ask some questions, and I'm going to talk about my career, my artwork, you know, why I opened the gallery and why I'm closing the gallery, because, you know, it has been 7 years since I've had brick and mortar, helping out over 20 artists that we featured, probably over 100 artists throughout the years that I've rotated through. So it's going to be just more kind of about the process and how I got to where we are and what's the next step. So, you know, Sammy, I'm going to turn the mic over to you and kind of, you know, we'll just go for it.
All right. Well, thank you for allowing me to do this.
Of course.
I can't believe myself that the day's already here.
I know
it's coming, but then when it's here, it's very bittersweet.
It's a trip. It really is.
But for all the new people out there, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Give a quick history of how the gallery became and why you started it, why you opened it.
Yeah. So with my artwork, I mean, it goes back to the beginning where I, you know, have always been a doodle artist. I've always drawn as a little kid. I've been doing it for over 20 years, since middle school, high school. Never really thought much of it. And then over the years, I, you know, was going through the tough times. I have the TED Talk that you can see that gets more in depth into my story. Mm-hmm. But when I got back into artwork, I wanted to see what people who didn't know me thought. So I started doing the weekly farmers markets.
Mm-hmm.
The first one I ever did was the Oceanside Sunset Market here locally. That was back in 2007, 2008. And that first day when I put my art, I only had like 5 or 6 prints and I made like $100. And I'm like, this is so cool. And I was working at Carl Strauss Brewery at the time. I was part-time, but I was working 25, 30 hours a week. So I had time to do this farmer's market, which I really wanted to.
I think you need to pull out that old picture and dig back and find that very old picture of you with everything laying flat on the table in the first market.
I didn't know what I was doing. Like I literally, like people would ask for a plastic bag and I would just hand them like a piece of paper and like, I'm like, you want a bag? Like I was so raw in this industry. I didn't know anything about the art industry. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any artist friends. I was just jumping in, wanting to see what people thought about my artwork. And little did I know, I mean, it really kind of took off. I mean, the farmer's market in Oceanside where DC Shoes found me. And then I got the contract with DC Shoes, had that snowboarding line. I got my clients. I started doing 3 to 4 I was doing over 200 shows a year in the first couple of years because I was hitting it so hard, wanting to see where I can go with this. And so when the gallery started to come in, because I've had 2 back surgeries. Mm-hmm. When I was, young, when I was 17, I was in a car accident. So I had my first back surgery at 17. I had my second one at 21. That's when I moved back down to San Diego. And the shows were burning me out.
I was going to say, that must have really been irritating your back.
It burned me out my back. I couldn't move. Even I was living with my girlfriend at the time, Laura Lee, now my wife, and she would see me come home. I would be on the ground where I couldn't move. I hate to admit it, but there was nights where I would almost cry myself to sleep because my back, my pain, my legs, I couldn't. And I'm like, how am I going to stay in the art industry and still continue to do this? I can't do it. It's not possible. So I was probably 26 at that time when I was doing 5 to 6 shows on a weekly basis. And I'm like, if I want to stay in this industry, I need to open up a brick and mortar. And I started getting some momentum working with different companies and contracts, and I was doing shows all over. I started doing shows in Arizona, and so I was expanding, and I was like, I really just want to see what it takes if I can open up a shop. And so I'm lucky I had some investors help me out, who believed in what I'm doing. They heard my story. What's crazy is I tried doing the Indiegogo, which is this crowdfunding thing.
Crowdfunding.
So, I don't like telling the story, and I don't tell it that often. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are asking me, do you have a storefront? And you probably get it all the time is, do you have a storefront? Do you have a shop? Do you have a gallery? Absolutely. And I think a lot of people on the outside think just because you're a vendor that like you have a storefront, that you're making all this crazy money and you really have and it wasn't like that at all. But I kept hearing it so much that I was kind of, like, let's see what happens. And if people are asking for it, maybe I can help people, like, sell prints, and that money would go to that. Well, I put so much time in this Indiegogo, this crowdfunding. I had this thing going. I thought, like, I'm going to raise $10,000 to $15,000 to start off. Well, it failed, and it failed hard. It was a kick in the gut. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this isn't.
You almost start to doubt yourself.
I completely started doubting myself, because I was also, really kind of some of the markets. As you know, you're not gonna make your money back at some of the markets, especially the first couple of years.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, there are those farmers markets where, it's a cold night. It's a little bit rainy. People aren't coming out all the time. So this was that time when I was struggling.
Yep. It's the grind.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like, this campaign failed. But the best thing that came out of this, the red line, the gold lining, was that this person who I've been, their parents have been following me in my career the last couple of years. And I grew up in the Bay Area, and they reached out to me and said, hey, Gregg, we saw that you were trying to raise money for a gallery. We've been following your career. We would love to help you.
That's awesome.
If I never did that crowdfunding, and if I didn't put I'm that type of guy that I will try, so many different things to see what works and what doesn't work. And but when I did that crowdfunding to open up a shop, they were like, we want to help him if he doesn't do it on his own with the crowdfunding. And to me, like, to this day, I mean, I can't be any more grateful, because I honestly wouldn't have the gallery if it wasn't for them, because I thought, like, I have to do this on my own. I got to try to raise the money myself. But the problem is, I would probably still try to, or be trying to do that on my own, when I could have, if someone's willing to help you and not, I didn't go out asking for it from them. Like,
the failure was a blessing in disguise, really.
It really was. And it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about the whole crowdfunding. Like, I think it's good for certain things. I mean, but it got me, I know what that's all about now, but it's, now that I had these people on board with me, now it was just kind of like, all right, let's find where we're going to do this. And so I've been looking up and down the coast, all throughout San Diego. I always wanted a shop here in Carlsbad.
Now, where were you living at this point?
I was living, what's crazy is I actually moved back in with my parents.
Oh.
So I was 26 years, or God, yeah, the time is, I think when I opened the shop by myself, I think I moved back in with my parents to try to save money and try to make sure, like, okay, if I do this, because a lot of people were also kind of doubting me too. And you know, I mean, because you're taking this risk. A lot of people are like, yeah, man, opening up a gallery at your age. So yeah, I was living with my parents. I was living with my parents when I opened it up. Now that I'm going back and reminding me this, but because Laura Lee would be staying the night all the time. And then we ended up moving in with each other right after I opened the gallery. So, I knew that was a sacrifice I was going to have to take, was, okay, if I'm going to open up the shop, I got to save money, and any money I make, because my parents were living right around the corner. So I thank God that they were able to help me out, and they saw that I wanted this. So I was here in Carlsbad. I was living in Carlsbad at the time.
Okay. So then you moved back in with them.
Yep.
And then you found your angel investors.
Yeah.
Let's call them.
Yeah. I found my angel investors. They came at me, and we were just like, let's find this. We looked at PB. We looked up and down the coast. Well, the Carlsbad Street Fair happens. I've been doing the Carlsbad Street Fair for over 10 years. And I've had this corner on State and Grand for 10 years. And I always said, I want that shop behind me. Like, it's a perfect little corner. I'd always come in here, look at the walls, and picture my art and everything in here. And I mean, you talk about the stars lining up. I kind of, one of the last times I went in here, I'm like, wow, this shop looks like it's going to start going out of business. And
what kind of a shop was it?
It was a tourist knickknack type of shop. It was called Paradise Cottage, and the only reason I remember that is I still get their mail to this day. So, I mean, they ordered stuff in catalogs, and, you know, they filled it. But the last time I came in here, I remember, like, man, this place is going to be leaving in the next, like, month. There's no way they're staying in business. So on a different day, I came back, and the door was closed. I peeked in, and I'm like, okay, so they're not... no one's in here. It's looking really empty. So I actually went to the next door neighbors and I said, hey, look, I'm an artist in the area. Do you know what's going on with these neighbors? I was like, I'm really interested in that building on the corner. I want to open up an art gallery. Can you give my business card to the landlord? And they were like, yeah, they kind of, you know, at the time I was 28. And so, yeah, they gave the business card to my landlord. During the same time, I was actually looking at another place right across the street. I went to Arizona for a show. I'm coming home, and I get a call from a guy like, hey, yeah, I heard you're interested in this place. I thought he was talking about the other one across the street. I didn't even think it was this one, because I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, on the corner of State and Grand. I got your card from one of my tenants. I'm like, oh my God, it worked. He's like, well, this place just opened up. I would love to meet you. I would love for you to come in and tell me what you want to do and bring, you know, who you think you might have as an employee. So I brought Laura Lee and this girl who was working with me, Michelle. So we came here. We told him what we were going to do. I proposed, you know, my vision. And he said, all right, you got the spot. And I'm like, oh my God. But I was really
like, didn't even feel real.
It was unreal. Like I couldn't believe, like, I'm like, oh my, like, honestly, it was kind of like an oh shit moment too, because I was like, oh shit, I have to make this happen.
Yeah, now I'm committed.
Now we're in it. Like now we are literally, we got the building. So I got the shop. I was able to start cutting back away at the farmers markets because I had to get out of those markets. They were killing me. And I, you know, doing the 5 to 6, I think I cut back to 3 or 4. And then after the first year, I cut down to 1 or 2. After the second year, I cut out all farmers markets, focusing on big shows, traveling across the country, because those bigger shows, you can do 3-4 day shows, set up. I can have the shop open all the time. I felt like I built up enough of a clientele to also know that I was here. So I still locally in the area just hustling. And yeah, it was such a trip. And, you know, I couldn't believe, like, yeah, I was 28 years old. I jumped right in. I still felt like I had no idea what I was doing. I knew I wanted to bring in other artists. I knew that was the number one thing. When I opened up this gallery, if this is going to be successful, I need to bring in other artists that I respect, that I thought other people would like, who are out there hustling the same way I was. So I started approaching other artists, and when I opened up, I had 10 local artists here. And then over the years, you know, with 12, 15, 20, I think at one time I had 25 artists in this little space. But it was incredible knowing that, like, I had this. And definitely the first 2 years of owning a brick and mortar, it is extremely difficult. I mean, the overhead, the insurance, every year the costs went up and up. But I was learning so much as I was going. I mean, I really kind of just jumped for it, went in. I remember when I opened it the first time too, I had big, huge originals, because I thought, okay, if you're an art gallery, like, that's what you do, is you have big, huge originals. I have my work, so it can kind of be on the lower end side, because my average price point's like $35-$40. But in the shop, I was like, oh, I need to have, you know, these, and like, they just weren't selling because they take up so much space. And I learned real quick that here in Carlsbad, 70% of the people here are tourists. Yep. And so if they can't carry it on an airplane.
Oh, yeah, it's got to fit in a suitcase.
It's got to fit in a suitcase. It's got to be easy to ship and travel. Yep. So I, like, scrapped everything on a lot of the artists that I was bringing in. And I realized it has to be travel size. Like, it has to be, you know, 16 by 20 to a little bit bigger, and then have a couple bigger pieces. So I really started figuring out, looking at patterns, you know, what was working, what wasn't working. I spent a lot more time here at the shop, so I can kind of gauge the traffic. I'm really good with patterns. Yeah. Obviously, with my doodling, I'm always looking for, you know, patterns and how I can tweak things and grow. So yeah, those first 2 years were a huge a huge learning curve. And here's what's also crazy too is when I opened the shop, the landlord was very upfront with me. This is an older building here. I mean, it was built over 60 years ago. At the time, his mom there's 4 kids who own it. The mom was still alive. You know, they bought it 40 years ago, right?
Wow.
So they said the building is possible, you know, it's going to be for sale. We're gonna do a 1-year lease, but after that, it's month to month.
Oh, that's scary.
It was. Well, I was just like, oh my gosh, I hope I can get to the 1 year.
Yeah.
Like, I hope if I sign this contract, I hope I make it 1 year. So yeah, the 1 year came and went. And then she ended up passing away, so everything got back onto the brothers. So the brothers, you know, there was always that chance the building was going to sell.
Yeah.
And I knew that in the back of my head. I knew going on month to month that this was part of the risk, you know, and I just had to keep going at it and keep doing what I was doing. So yeah, we always knew in the back of my head that, okay, I could literally get my 30-day notice at any time.
Yeah.
So it was definitely getting stressful. And, you know, on top of it, I, you know, was traveling, doing other shows, and I was all over the place.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do have to backtrack before we had started.
Of course.
You started to tell the story and I interrupted you and you said, wait, save it, about your first day when you had opened.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it literally is exactly like 7 years ago from when I opened up the gallery. And I remember the first thing I did when I got the keys was I got that like brown wrapping paper stuff, and I put it all on the window so no one could peek in, and I like wrote like gallery coming soon, and I covered that up because I didn't want people peeking in, and you know, like I felt
make it a surprise.
Yeah, I wanted a surprise, and also I just felt like a lot safer, I guess, because I don't know, I felt so scared, and it just made me like, okay, no one could see me.
It's a scary thing to open up a store.
It was scary. Yeah. I again had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. Kind of the same way I got in the art industry. I had no clue what I was doing, but I knew I could make it work. I knew I knew I can make this thing work. I'm not going to let this fail. But yeah, I got all the paper up, and it took us about 3 to 4 weeks to kind of actually open it up. And I remember that first day when I was coming to the gallery, I'm like, okay, this is the day I take the paper off and I let the world see what I'm doing. And I pulled the paper off, and I did. I felt like I was naked. Like I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm exposed. Now everyone could come in. The shop's open. And it was a pretty unreal moment for me, because I just remember sitting there like, okay, I did it. I opened the shop. I got it going. Like, now let's just make this keep running. And I was telling you earlier, because I was like, man, I remember that first day I opened the gallery, and here's the last day, and I still have a lot of stuff in here, but I'll be able to take it down. I mean, I definitely have been procrastinating a little bit, and I can get a lot of this down. But those moments are what really kind of I always look for, is something that just sticks with me, and it was nice to be able to reminisce a little bit about that.
Yeah. So now 7 years later.
Oh man.
And we're closing.
Yeah.
So how did you get to this point?
You know, that's a great question. I mean, 7 years, it does not seem like 7 years at all, but it's easily, I could track it easily, because I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. I got married. So when I opened this, I was 28. I was dating. I didn't have kids. And now everything has shifted. Like, this gallery, when I opened it, was my everything. Like, I mean,
this was your baby.
This was my baby. Yeah. This was my sanctuary.
Yep.
Like, I wanted to be here as much as I can. And that was also part of the reason why I wanted to pull back from those weekly markets, is because I wanted to be here. Over time, you know, when Laura Lee and I moved in together, we moved around the corner in Carlsbad, because I really wanted to walk to work. I wanted to skateboard to work. I wanted to live that life for a while, to where I can easily just eat downtown, like just be a part of the village, be a part of this community. So I immersed myself into it. You know, we were living here together. She ended up getting pregnant. So when Ryder came along, you know, we realized, okay, we got to kind of move out of the area to have a little bit more space and that, and we got she got pregnant again, and things just started changing. You know, we got married. The way I was looking at things, just, I mean, 7 years, especially in that time frame of your life, there's a lot that happens.
Yeah, you grow a lot.
yeah, my priorities changed. I mean, like I missed a lot with Ryder the first couple of years. I really did. I missed a lot of, being, because I do travel, I missed a lot of that. I missed birthday parties, weddings. I missed a lot of things with Laura Lee's family and my family. And I just finally when I had Presley, when we had her, it really started hitting me a lot more. Like, family is becoming more and more. And so, now, fast forward to today, I've been working with Disney for 7 years. So what's crazy is as soon as I opened up this shop, like I just got my first contract with Disney. So I didn't realize where that was going to go. And each year that keeps growing and growing. The contracts, the companies I'm working with, I realized, I don't necessarily need to have the shop anymore because there are a lot of headaches. I'll be honest, employees. I mean, there's a lot of headaches with that. The cost of the rents, the insurance. I mean, when you start getting, the overhead is just insane when you really look at the numbers. And at this point now, I kind of looked at it and said, I can cut this out. I don't have to be so stressed out, and I can, focus on online. I can work from home, be with the kids more, do more custom artwork. I've been in the industry since 2007, 2008, so I have a pretty good following, and I want to work more on that because the Facebook, Instagram, online, that's probably my weakness is I need to do more time for that, but that's a whole nother job in itself. So if I focus on that, focus on the other things, be able to see my kids, I would love to be able to drop them off at school and pick them up. Those are the things that as a father I want to do because, and again, in my TEDx, you'll know, my dad passed away when he was 40. I was in 6th grade. My parents got divorced when we were young. I feel like I want to be a better role model for my kids than I believe my dad could have been. So I really try to be the best dad that I can, and my kids grow up with a dad.
Well, life is short. It's precious. You don't know what's going to happen.
100%. I mean, I hate to bring it up, but look at what happened a couple of days ago. Kobe Bryant.
Absolutely.
That Kobe Bryant, helicopter crash, it took out Kobe, his daughter, the other victims, 9 people, and then the other family who had the daughter, the mom and dad. I know it shook a lot of people who didn't really know him or anything or know the other victims, but it is just that's even the nail in the coffin. We're only here a split second in our life, everything could go away in a heartbeat. And it's just finding that time when it's time to switch gears and focus on what's important. Art is definitely important. It's just, I'm taking a different route. So the building, on top of all of this, I told the landlord last year that I was looking to close the shop up, just because of the things that we just got done talking about. And, not being in a contract month to month, the building could sell at any time. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have control of when I close the shop. In the first quarter, as you know, is the slowest time for any artist for the most part. It's the tourists are really where we do well, and there's not as many shows. So I wanted to close in January, to where it was my slowest time of the year, and then I had a lot of other things lined up, and in that time frame, the building ended up selling in September. So it sold 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, not long ago.
It really didn't sell that long ago. And so the new landlord told me, hey, I heard you were planning on leaving. And I said, yeah, if you could let me just stay here until January, let me get through the holidays, let me start telling people I'm closing. I'm like, that's all I asked for. He's like, done. He's like, yeah, you can stay here. He did offer us a year lease, but myself and the other guy, the guy stuff next door, they declined it. And then there's 3 businesses in this building that sold. And so 2 of us are leaving at the end of, actually in a couple days, and 1 is going to stay. So that's kind of where we are now. Now it's just switching gears and seeing what is out there. I want to start traveling internationally. I want to do more work with Disney. I just got also the license for Air Force, because
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm licensed with the Marines, Navy, and the Air Force currently. I want all 5 of them. I want to be able to do those type of things and not always have to feel like, oh my gosh, what about the gallery? Or when I'm on vacation, like, oh, are they going to open on time? What fires am I going to have to put out? I want to, I want to live in the moment a little bit more and not have to worry about other things. So when I'm with my family, I'm with my family.
Yeah.
When I'm out here doing different events, I'm doing those events.
Yeah.
It's scary, yes, but I love the nerves. I love change. My wife's favorite, their family's motto is adapt or die. That's what it's always been. So I kind of look at that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's time. Honestly, the way things are going downtown Carlsbad and the way the brick and mortars are going away. The cost is just getting unreal. I don't know how anyone, honestly, this day and age can have a brick and mortar.
Yeah, unless you're one of the big boxes.
Unless you're even that, but a lot of them are going away too. The small mom and pop shops, unless you're just having your family working it, and you're staying there. I mean, like that's
or if you're working it 24/7.
If you're working it 24/7 too, yeah. But I mean, the problem with that is now you're like stuck to that spot. Like I've always been lucky where I've had the shop, I've been able to travel, I've been able to go do other things. So I wasn't just here at the shop. At the end, I was here maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Like I was getting each year, it felt like I was being at the shop less. It was
less and less. I kind of watched that happen over the years.
Right, and that's just the way things were going, and so. It kind of felt like, obviously I didn't need that, but for the other people who this is all they have, I mean, it's tough. I've talked to so many other owners around the area who they're looking, to, in the next year to 2 years, maybe to close shop or switch gears. I mean, I'm not trying to scare anyone away. It's just that's the reality is the overhead, and in a couple of years, minimum wage is going to be $15 an hour starting off at, it's you just really got to make sure. Any advice I could give someone, I mean, at least have 3 months of rent covered at least, so you could kind of see where it's at. And if you can get an angel investor, if you can get someone who believes in you or a loan, you just got to work out the numbers. You gotta do that instead of kind of just jumping in there. I kind of did both. I jumped in there, but I looked at the numbers. I mean, I knew I could make it work. I knew I had a pretty good following. So that was why I said this. If I want to stay in the art industry, I have to open up a brick and mortar, or I got to find something else to do because I can't keep doing the shows on a day-to-day basis. Like I couldn't do it physically. Not a chance. Yeah.
So after all this, what do you think you're going to miss most about the shop?
I really am going to miss all the people. And, I've seen the world go by on this corner. I mean, if you haven't been to Carlsbad or if you haven't been to the shop, I mean, we've been right downtown Carlsbad in the heart of it, across from the train station. We have that weekly farmers market every single Wednesday. I'm going to miss that. I mean, as much as the gallery, the gallery was almost like a time suck at the end because I wanted to try to draw, but I couldn't because when you come here, you have to give your time to your customers. You got to answer the phone. It's a one-man show. Whoever's working the shop, you're here by yourself. Yeah. So you got to multitask. You got to check out. You got to, do the phone. If I'm doing online orders, whatever. It's definitely missing talking to the people and
the interaction.
The interaction, that's what I'm going to miss the most, definitely, is seeing them, talking to them. I mean, I've seen family and kids grow up here. I mean, there's so many people who didn't have kids and same thing, and now they got 2-year-olds, 5-year-olds. They got all these. I mean, like even when they were 2, I mean, now they're 9 years old. I mean, it's pretty cool to be a part of something like that and know people who can come here and see you all the time. I am going to miss that, hands down. The people. Carlsbad is an incredible city. I can't say enough about Carlsbad and the fact that they've come and supported me, the other artists here. I have much respect for this. So I would have to hands down say it's the people in the community.
So of all the people that you have met or come across, can you think of one person that has been the most influential through this whole 7-year journey for you?
Do you want me to say you, Sammy?
No.
Is that where you're going?
No. It's a serious question.
Say the question one more time.
Who's been the most influential, you think, that you've met over 7 years? Someone that's walked through the door and maybe said something to you, or given you an opportunity, maybe, or...
There are so many. Honestly, like, one person, it would be tough. We actually did a podcast. One of our last podcasts was with Janelle Cannon.
Yeah.
She's the author and illustrator of Stella Luna.
Yep. Which is a great children's book if you don't know it.
Incredible children's book. Check out our other podcast. But, she actually it took me over like 2 years to find out that she was actually the author, the illustrator of like this childhood book.
I almost cried when you told me.
Yeah. It was incredible. Like meeting her, and her and I have had so many incredible conversations, like on the slow days, because she walks the village all the time.
Yeah.
I see her all the time.
Yeah.
And she always pops in, especially on slow days. The conversations we've had, and just the advice she's given me, the stories she's told me. She's definitely one of those people that I'm gonna walk away with an incredible friend, someone who I've really looked up to what Janelle's done, her story, and just how modest she is.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
You
about
wouldn't
her.
even know.
Would never know that.
Yep.
And I try to be as modest as I can. Just with, I feel like I've been lucky and blessed, and I respect that so much. And you would never know that this lady is who she is and what she has accomplished and done in her life. And the fact that she'll come in here and, help me out, or if I have questions. It's people like that, and there's a lot of them. But she's the first one that's coming to mind because we did the podcast pretty recently.
Yeah.
And she was sitting just where you were sitting.
Yeah.
Janelle, incredible lady.
Yeah. All right. Last question.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years down the road? What is your next big goal?
My next big goal, I have a lot of them. But honestly, like right now, it is to be able to have more time with my family. I think every artist's dream, in my opinion, is to work from home. I really think, like, how cool would it be to wake up, roll out of bed, and start creating and drawing and doing whatever your craft is. Like, to me, that's like the ultimate
30-second commute.
I think it's so cool. Literally, like I that would be my dream in 5 years, is I'll still be out there. I don't think the person I am, I'll probably never stop doing street fairs, festivals. Again, because that's my way of interacting with my customers, getting my art out there. I don't see myself ever doing that, but yes, working from home in 5 years, full time. I'm really wanting to focus on, so once I close the shop, the main things I'm going to focus on is online sales, Instagram, all that, building that clientele up, and then, licensing. So I do a lot of work with, like I said, the Disneys, the Army, Navy. I want to have all 5 branches by then. So I just got my 3rd branch. So I have Marines, Navy, and Air Force. So I'll still need Army and the Coast Guard. So I need to get those 2.
And Space Force.
And now Space Force, so the 6. Yes, we'll have to look into that one a little bit deeper. But yes, Space Force, doing that, and wholesale. I'm starting to sell my stuff in other shops, across the country. The U.S. USS Midway sells it, Battleship Iowa, the U.S. Marine Corps Museum. I definitely want to get more into military bases, work more with military, hopefully do more speaking engagements, inspire people. I love, when I first started this, like literally 10 years ago, even at the Oceanside Sunset Market, I had a lot of teachers and principals and people coming to me and asking me, hey, can you come to our school?
I remember you used to go and do a lot of speaking gigs. I used to do
so many of them, and then it's just kind of how progression goes and things go. It gets harder and harder. My time, I can only go do so many, but I used to do a lot of, speaking at, I've done literally I've spoke at over 100 schools easily in the last 10 years. I was doing one a month, like at least every year. and it's just cut down a lot
Yeah.
because of where things are going, and again, running the shop. So when I get rid of the shop, I'll be able to have this time back that I can get out there more and do assemblies. Like, it was pretty cool. There was one I did around the corner at one of the schools where we did 2 full assemblies.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like there was over 1,000 kids, and
cool.
just to be able to see them light up and get them inspired. Like, the parents were coming into the shop and telling you, my kid doodles all the time, like, you inspired them. Like, that's what's cool is, and unfortunately in the school systems, the art is going away. And I was never that big on art growing up. I love to draw, love to create, but it would be cool to
Did you always want to be an artist?
I never wanted to be an artist. Never wanted to be an artist. I never thought the art industry. I always knew I was going to have my own business. 100%. I was that kid growing up where I was raking leaves, spray painting the curb numbers, selling mistletoe.
Finding a hustle.
I was hustling anywhere I can. I was, that was me on the weekends, was like, how am I going to make money? I've done it all, as far as doing that little hustle. So I always knew I wanted my own business, but never would you have said that it's going to be in the art industry. Not a chance. I didn't run with the art people growing up. Like, that was not my crowd. I love to draw. The only art class I took in school was the high school one. And the teacher just said, hey, just give me 3 pieces at the end of the class, and you can do what you want to do. And he let all the other kids do their things, but he just let me be creative and turn that in. So I was like, this is kind of cool. I wish I can tap more into it, but I never would have thought that art, you can make a living off of it. Really. I mean, I've always heard that, you start making money after you die. I mean, I was like, oh, great. That sounds like a horrible business plan. But yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted my own business. I saw an opportunity here, and I said, let's see where this goes. And that was back in 2007, 2008. And even then, I was just trying to make a little extra money on the side and seeing where it was. But it was taking that chance and taking that risk that kind of like, okay, this is where I'm going to focus on. And I put all my time and energy. I stopped partying. I focused on that. Yeah. And it kind of just did its own path. Yeah. It was pretty cool how it all happened, but you got to put the time in, you got to put the work in. I mean, there's no shortcuts. I mean, I stopped partying and drinking. I mean, I was in my room by myself so many times, by myself drawing while everyone else was out. Like, people stopped calling me to hang out, because they knew I was going to be at home drawing and creating, because my pieces take 40 to 80 hours. I can't do it drunk or high or any of that. Like, I was over that stuff, and I had to be 100% sober. So I knew if I'm going to be the best at this, I got to focus on it and cut out that bullshit. I say that all the time, is you got to cut out that bullshit, because that's what's going to pull you down. And when I realized, what I wanted to do, and that it was helping people, and people liked it, and I liked it, and I was like, this is obviously what I'm good at. Because what's tough too is after my back surgery, so I had my first back surgery at 17. I was gonna go into the military. I couldn't. Really? Yeah, because I couldn't. Branch? I really didn't care, but I knew I did want to be a jet pilot. I'm obsessed with airplanes. I'm obsessed with jets and all that. Growing up at air shows, I mean, to me, airplanes and jets are like the greatest thing on earth. Like, they make me so happy. I don't know why, but they just do. And I thought, I want to be a jet pilot. Even my mom showed me this thing when I was, I think, at first grade. It said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was a jet pilot. And so I still want to be a jet pilot. But, after I had that back surgery at 17, I was, because everyone thinks I'm a veteran. And I never say I'm a veteran. I mean, but I always wear my freedom is a free shirt. I'm very patriotic. I support him because, my brother was Army. He went in right after high school. He was stationed over in Kuwait. They took over the palaces. He was in, 2002, 2001, 2002, 2003. I think he got out in 2004. So he was in for 4 years. And I just had, I always looked up to my older brother. Yeah. And always, I guess, tried to follow his footsteps. But he was also kind of the reckless one too. Yeah. So always had respect for military. Always thought I was going to do that. Once that kind of got taken away and I couldn't do that, I tried to go the school route.
Yeah.
But I got kicked out of school too. I was on academic probation and academic suspension at Miracosta College here in Oceanside. So I was really like, what am I going to do? I can't do the military. I can't do school.
Yep.
What else what else do I do? Like, how are these schools? Well, I guess you got to hold above a 2.0 GPA, which I don't think I've ever had that in my life growing up. So school's just not for everyone.
It's not.
It's really not. And everyone learns differently. And I think that's where I've also learned, and I like speaking at schools. It's crazy, as I speak at SDSU all the time. I speak at SDSU to the business schools. I could never go to SDSU, but
which is a crazy thought.
Which is crazy.
At the school.
But I can go and teach all the students, and I can tell them about my business and that.
Yeah.
So I always thought that's so interesting is SDSU, you know, they bring me over to their business schools and they teach me, you know, they want me there. And but not in a million years could I ever step foot in a class and be a student. I don't learn that way. And I can't have people, you know, I don't want to say regurgitating information, but for me, it's like I need visuals. I need to like see it and have someone show me a little bit more hands-on, and then I'll learn it.
Almost also like you need to forge your own path too.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, after my first two options were exhausted, then I really kind of figured out like you said, I need to find my path. Obviously, those two paths just got, you know, bombarded and, you know, are no longer available. So let's see what else is out there. And yeah, I mean, you know, people say everything happens for a reason. I'm 100% believer in that. And,
absolutely.
And you know, I mean, who knows? I mean, if I would have went the military route, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. Like, I mean, I can tell you 100% I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. If I went the school route, I have no idea what I would be doing that way. So it kind of pushed me. I mean, you know, growing up, my mom, you know, she always tells me this is, you know, when times are at their toughest, that's when you grow the most.
Yep.
And, you know, I've had a lot of time to grow. I've had a lot of time to, you know, I've licked my wounds and I got back up. And that's how I learned I learned kind of this, just, you know, you just got to keep going. What's broken, you know, figure out what it is, try again. You're going to fall down until it actually makes sense. And so I'll try something. It could be the smallest little tweak too. That's amazing. It's just like, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? But it took 50 times to realize what it was. And so I think that's so big too. And a lot of people is they'll give up, and it's the people.
They're not willing to put in the work.
They're not willing to put in the work, and it's easy for them just to say, oh, this isn't for me, instead of figuring out why is it not working?
Yep.
What am I doing? What if I try this? And you eliminate everything that until eventually it'll fit. And that's just how I've approached everything in business. And what I'm doing is, I know I can, you know, make something happen because I'll figure it out one way or another. Yeah. And I know that this next step after closing the gallery, like people ask me, are you nervous? I'm like, yeah, but that's part of the process. Like, I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm ready to see what else is out there. Like, you know, at the point, the gallery is almost holding me back a little bit because I do want to start traveling more. I want to start doing more stuff with that, but it's also going to open up so many other opportunities, so many other windows. And that's what excites me is I'm excited for the change and to see where I go from here.
Yeah, it definitely acted as a stepping stone to get you from one place to the next, I feel like.
100%. And, you know, that's how I looked at farmers markets is I know there's people who've done that for a long time, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I always knew the farmers markets were a stepping stone for me. Yes. That it was basically, I'm going to see how long I can do this and see, you know, where it takes me. And then until eventually I couldn't do anymore, then it was time to get off of that step and go to that next one. And so, you know, for me, that was huge is seeing that and doing it. And now, I mean, I've tried every market in San Diego, like for the most part. I mean, like, you know, I know what works, what doesn't work. Like, even, you know, a lot of people's like, what markets, you know, work for you? I'm like, well, the markets that work for me don't necessarily work for you. Like, I stay out of La Jolla, Del Mar. I've tried them. They don't work for me. My clientele is not the high end, you know, my clientele is the youth, you know, the young families, you know, the spending $40 to $50. It's not the huge big pieces for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And a lot of the areas that have that, I know Carlsbad, you know, people might say, well, Carlsbad's high end, but there's a lot younger families here. It's a tourist community. It fits in right with kind of what I'm doing. I have the military people over Oceanside.
The base is just right around the corner.
It is. It's like 5 minutes from here. So, you know, this little hub, Carlsbad, was always my dream spot and opening. And the fact that I was able to get it here was awesome, because I was looking Little Italy downtown. I was looking everywhere. And, you know, being able to, I just knew my demographics, like, oh my gosh, Carlsbad. So, you know, you talk about the stars lining up. It really did. But also, you know, the hard work and all of that is what helps. I mean, Rob Deerdeck is, you know, his saying is always, you know, you make your own luck, you know, and I believe in that too. You know, I know there's some luck involved with a lot of this, but also it's what you put into it, which is going to help you get those opportunities. Yep.
Well, it's definitely bittersweet.
I know. I can't believe it. I mean, this is it.
It's been wild.
7 years. You know, I'm 35 now. You know, I'll be actually, so I'm born February 29th. So
you get a birthday this year.
I get a birthday this year.
So how old are you actually?
I'll be 9. So I'm 8 right now.
Happy 9th birthday.
Thank you. Yes. So I'll be 9 years old next month, and I'll be able to celebrate kind of, you know, with you know, there's a lot of things to celebrate right now, and you know, there's a lot of work to be done too. So it is a trip. I mean, you know, even just talking to you and bringing things up again and reminiscing, it's kind of, it's surreal. I mean, and I know tomorrow, because today's our last day that we're actually open. We did it with the farmers market going on Wednesday, but tomorrow I got to turn in the keys. I got to get all this stuff off the shelves.
Yeah.
And I know that's really what's going to hit me. It still hasn't hit me 100%, but
yeah, like I said earlier, when it's empty and you're closing the door and locking it for the last time, that's probably when it'll hit.
Yeah, I mean, this is our last podcast here. This is a last market here. This is the last of a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting how I handle tomorrow, and I think there's so much going on that I can't like soak it in, and I'm not saying I'm gonna cry or anything, but like, I mean, just, you know, I mean, really kind of realize, like, wow, you know.
Yeah,
it's gone. Just like
that.
Just
will be
like
over
that.
And packed up, and
you know. But the good thing is, honestly, too, is I truly believe, you know, down the road, if I want to open up another shop, I think I'll be able to jump right back in. You know, if that's something when my kids are older, you know, if I want to do that, I really think, you know, that is something that they can help out with. And,
because you learned a lot of the hard lessons already, so you know what not to do.
Right. And, you know, I'd give anyone, you know, give everything. And that was a rule growing up that I gave, whether it was jobs, like any job I had, I always gave it at least 2 years. You know, shows, when I do shows, typically, I always try the show at least twice.
Yep.
You know, and my goal was, like, if I could just make it 2 years, I will be so happy. Like, that was honestly my goal, because I had that 1 year lease. I was like, please just make it through that 1 year, and then month to month, let's make it through that next. And from there, it really started to kind of click a lot more, and it got a little easier. And then I was able to just kind of just say, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, I
get it. I understand how the brick and mortar gallery side of things works, and now I'm closing it.
Well, you learn the lessons from this, you move on, you learn the next lesson. So.
Yeah. So, you know, anyone who's been to the shop, I gotta say this is thank you so much. I mean, the customers, we've met people from all over the world. I mean, Carlsbad is really a destination. We're 5 minutes from Lego Man, 5 minutes from GIA, 5 minutes from Camp Pendleton, 2 blocks from the beach. I mean, there's so much going on, and so many different type of people, and they are what kept this shop going. Is they believed in this young guy who opened up an art studio, and they kept coming back, and I can't be more grateful for, you know, even the artists, all the artists who believed in me, and you know, when I approached them, you know, on, you know, coming in and, hey, I'm going to open up this gallery, you know, would you be a part of it? thank you to everybody, and please stay in touch. I mean, Sammy, you've been a big part of the shop too. You've been holding down the front for so long, and people, I know you've met a lot of incredible people out here too.
It's been a really good network. I feel like this has been a good hub of ways to meet people and interact, and new clients and new friends even, and just people that are, I think, going to be in my life forever. So
yeah, it's bittersweet, and I guess this is the last. Brandon, who's our videographer and who's been
the man behind the camera.
Big shout out to him. But he said it perfectly. Is this is almost like the first season of our podcast. The first season has been here at the gallery. He jumped in here almost a year ago. Helping with this. We've, we are going to continue the podcast. Our next step is to basically go to other artists' studios and workplaces and see them actually doing the podcast there. Really kind of, I want to take this podcast to the next level, and I want to see people creating and how they got into the industry, telling their story to help other people, like myself or for you, who are, how do these people actually do it? How do they do it professionally? How are they, what are the tricks of the trades? Like I'm open about a lot of that. And so are a lot of the other artists, who want to give back. And I think that's what's going to take this podcast to that next level is, after this first season, we're going to jump in and actually get into the artist studios and see what they're doing. And
that'll be really neat.
Yeah, it's I'm excited about it. I mean, there's a lot of other cool things coming, but this is definitely the wrap to I guess the Viz Art podcast episode number 9, the Vizness. This is what it's been, and thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Carlsbad.
Thank you, Carlsbad. It's been a great 7 years, and definitely look out for more things to come. You can follow me on social media, the website vizartink.com, VIZARTINK.com. Check us out on YouTube, and we'll see you later.